annals of your mind. I am deep in the annals of your...
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about the end of political influencers.
But before we get into it, make sure to like, jingle, touch all our bells and buttons. Please and thank you.
Touch our bells and buttons. Follow our main channel where Janet does DIY home improvement stuff. And follow our music channel where we do music stuff. Hello, good to see you. I know we talked about Black Friday in our last podcast, but guess what? We went Black Friday shopping and we got hella sick.
I got sick twice in a row. This is not okay.
And this time, Jan got me sick. So we both got sick. So we were just rolling around in bed, just festering in our own sweat while listening to the craziness that was this week.
Yes. Politically. News-wise, I guess. And we have come to a conclusion that we think political influencers are done. I don't know if you can become a political influencer in 2022 or going forward, and I'm done. I'm done with politics in general, and I want to explain why. Because I get this feeling that a lot of people are. I think it's a cultural shift. I think around 2016, everyone started really getting into politics, whether you probably should or not. Everyone had an opinion, whether you're an artist or an actor or whatever.
A football player.
Yeah. And it just felt like everyone and their mother got into politics and news. But now I'm feeling this shift in the culture. I'm seeing that people are starting to move away from politics, and I'm really happy for it. It might all be in my head.
It might be wishful thinking.
Right.
But no, I kind of see it too. I kind of see people being fed up with, this is sort of like a sequel to our last podcast about how you're addicted to outrage. But yeah, they just say the same stuff over and over and over again. And especially with the reporting for the midterms.
Right.
Nothing came true.
Yeah.
The only person's prediction who actually came true was Janet's. No red wave, no red tsunami, no civil war, nothing. Just people not giving a shit about American politics.
Yeah.
Honestly, how it should be.
Yes.
Like how it was when we were young.
And I wanted to talk about why I'm feeling this way, so that maybe if you're feeling this way, or if you're noticing this cultural change, you're not crazy. You're not alone. Maybe we can give some food for thought with some of the things we've personally been seeing in the news, which has convinced me I need to turn a new leaf. I need to reevaluate my life and the people I choose to listen to. And so we're going to have to talk a lot about personal drama in this episode.
Janet, are we a drama channel?
No.
Janet and I are a hypocrisy channel.
Yeah. What is it in Network that Howard Beale says? Do you want to be an angry prophet? No, but that is what I am, I guess.
An angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times.
Yes, that's basically what this
I
show
am
is.
Max Schumacher, Janet's Howard Beale.
Yes.
That's
you
our
are my
show.
Producer.
That's our show.
And I am the entertainment, I guess.
Yes.
So, in order to, give examples of why we think political influencers are basically done for, we have to kind of get into the personal drama that has been happening this week with Ye and stuff like that. But I don't actually care about the drama. The point of bringing up a lot of this stuff is we want to point out hypocrisy and inauthenticity. And I think that's why I think political influencing and like the pundit commentator class, I can see them slowly
Floundering.
like becoming irrelevant the way it's not like they were relevant before, but they've definitely came up to fame in the past like half a decade. So yes, we're probably going to talk about drama about people you don't know and you don't care about, but it kind of is relevant to pointing out hypocrisy.
Yeah. Just realize that millions of people listen to people like these, and we're just pointing out the hypocrisy. Like, yes, a little bit. It's like, oh, I can't believe that actually happened. Actually, it's not that surprising, but it's less about that. It's more of like, I can't believe these people pretend about making a family-friendly show,
right?
Pretend to be honest and forthright people. Meanwhile, they do all sorts of nefarious shit behind the scenes.
Yes. So I guess in order to begin, if you're new to the show, you probably need to know like who we are and how we came to feel and think the way we do. Like, we're artists who typically you would think we would be leftists or like hyper liberal, but then like I, especially coming on to the internet, got into a lot of trouble for maybe not meeting expectations there, being like, there's a bunch of bullshit. a lot of the political things that most artists would cry about and support, I was very much like, I don't know about that. I used to be like that. I would say I was like the typical artist up until 2016. I am everything you expect a young, how old was I at that? Like 20-ish person, artist, liberal who worked in Hollywood, thought. I was very LGBTQ friendly, still am. I was very like girl boss, like women, feminism, all that stuff. I was very much like, oh yeah, Obama, first black president, yeah. Until 2016-ish was when I feel like a lot of people got into politics. And to be honest, I really wasn't that political. I didn't think those things I just mentioned were very political. It's just something you're kind of raised being a Californian and being a young person. All I wanted to do was like get a job in Hollywood, live my life, make cool stuff. I didn't really care about politics. But 2016 was around when Trump got elected, so everyone had to have their 2 cents about that. And people like Jordan Peterson became fairly famous.
Dave Rubin, Joe Rogan.
So I guess
Shapiro.
Yeah, I guess you would say that was the beginnings of my, I guess, red pilling. I don't know what to call it because I wouldn't consider myself a conservative even after that point or today. I just felt like, well, if literally my coworkers are getting mad at me for not being well informed, or people like losing family members, and everyone was talking about politics, whether it was like in entertainment or whatever, it just felt like if you wanted to pay attention to the culture, you kind of have to start getting into politics and like learning about this stuff. But at that point, I still didn't care. I feel like you cared more than I did.
Yeah, so I started in 2016. We both, what we did was we both paid very, very close attention to the Hillary and Trump race. And it's not like we never paid attention to race before, like we mentioned. Like there was the Obama thing back when we were in high school. But, that was when we were kids.
Yeah.
And then we were little fledgling adults, graduated from college, wanting to understand the world. So we really paid attention to that election. And then we saw a lot of what would end up to be kind of commonplace in politics today, where, one side sees one version of a debate in that election, let's say, and then another side sees one, and then you hear NPR or you hear Rush Limbaugh back in the day, like the way they see reality is completely different from the other side. And then when we noticed that, we were like, what the heck is going on? Like, no one can, how can anybody, like, are people seeing what I'm seeing?
Right.
And how could you see that? I didn't see that. So it was a lot of that. And like we mentioned, there were a lot of individuals coming up, especially around 2016. Christina Hoff Sommers, Steven Crowder came up around that time. Milo Yiannopoulos came up around that time. But then, like, there were people like Joe Rogan, where I remember going to the gym after the election, thinking like, wow. I wasn't really shocked that Trump won, but I was just like, I want to understand. I want to understand why this is happening. Mm-hmm. So then Joe Rogan, started listening to him, and then he had this one guy who sounded like Kermit the Frog on, who was Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson became really, really famous around that time because he wrote that book, 12 Rules for Life, and then had that whole thing about names and stuff in Canada.
Yeah,
right.
Pronouns.
So yes, so a lot of you, yeah, he didn't like that, so that's what made him really famous. He and Brett Weinstein and Dave Rubin created the intellectual dork web, which lasted a good 6 months until it kind of evaporated. So a lot of things were becoming super hyper politicized. If you remember the basketball, the movie, still the movies are like that, the TV, the music. And I was really struggling to understand the world.
You were the one who introduced me to Tim Pool.
Right. And then there was like this guy with a beanie, and then he was some sort of skater dude. And then he was talking about the news, and his format was so much more simple than everybody else's. And then I saw his format being copied, like people like Nerdrotic, people like The Quartering. But Tim was kind of like this kind of genre setter, I'd say, because Joe Rogan was doing kind of that format for a long time. Dave Rubin tries too hard.
Yes.
So he wants his show to look like some lame TV show. Yeah. But Tim's show was truly the internet show about politics. And around that time, Tim was covering Twitter censorship stuff, which is funny. Fast forward to today, where I guess the most famous claim to fame he had is to be in the Joe Rogan podcast with the woman who is going to jail, and the lawyer who is going to jail, and Jack Twitter Jack.
Twitter, yeah.
Right. So it was Tim Pool and Joe Rogan versus Jack and the lady who's going to jail. And that's what made him like astronomically famous. Like truly, he still brags about that day, even to today. I listened to him since 2016 through the pandemic, through the 2020 election, after the 2020 election, just for this long.
Yeah. I started truly listening to him, I would say 2020, actually.
Yeah, Janet wasn't really that political because she was neutral until 2020. 2020 proved to Janet how fucked American politics is.
Yes. I like, technically I've been more politically aware like a lot sooner than you. I just was classic, I don't care. I just don't care until maybe 2020, where I really felt like I was forced to, because it's like, I mean, me being just a normal person on the internet, being introduced to being on the internet and being kind of a public figure, it's like I had to learn really quickly that I can't just say anything, because apparently some of my opinions are very controversial for artists. to be like, yes, I like capitalism. I like money. I am a greedy, selfish asshole. Like you can't, apparently you can't say that as an artist. You have to like pretend you're a communist or something. It's just like things like that, like kind of forced. It didn't force me to be political. People just perceive me as that. When like just simply saying things like I left California suddenly is like a political statement. And I was losing my mind at work. Things that I thought should have never been political, like cartoons, like animation, was becoming that way. That people, like water cooler talk, was suddenly a place to virtue signal to other coworkers how informed you are and how for the cause you are. And I was slowly driven insane. And then you were like watching a lot of this stuff, like just trying to figure out the world. And then I really started listening to it pretty much during COVID. Because I was like, whoa, what's going on? Why isn't anyone reporting on this? People have, like, I talked to a friend fairly, like a year ago, about COVID and how it started and all that stuff. And people have selective memories about how it started. Everyone likes to think that they were super careful and super aware of what was happening at the time, when like the media wasn't reporting on it for the longest time.
They didn't report it until I think Italy freaked the fuck out.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah. And then maybe some of the people who watch news regularly might be aware, but like my parents were kind of aware because they're Chinese. But like no one else really was. No one was wearing masks. No one was like, if it wasn't being reported in the news, no one's like doing anything about it. And I just thought it was freaky. I thought it was really freaky what was happening in the world, and yet mainstream media wasn't really talking about it. So when you are this pushed to a corner, pushed into like confused why everyone around you is acting nuts politically for like the past since 4 years prior to that at the very least, and then noticing like the news isn't newsing, they're not like doing their job. I started listening to Tim, and I started following a lot of these more right-leaning people. But also, like, it's not like we completely stopped listening to left personalities. That's just the default. Like, that's just.
I didn't listen to left personalities.
I mean,
the most left person I listened to is Joe Rogan.
For a really long time, I listened to Philip DeFranco until I couldn't anymore.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's right, man.
Because he just kept getting so many things wrong, and I was like, what's going on?
He conveniently picks and chooses which stories
to
ignore.
To talk about and stuff. But that's kind of when Tim Pool was starting to get really, really big, because like the 2016 election and then the 2020 election, every election cycle, it seems like the pundits seem to get a lot of
traction.
A lot of people eyes on them, I guess. Right. So it was fun to in particular, he started Timcast IRL, the more podcasty talk show, long form talk show format. With Adam of the Krigler Show. And I thought I particularly really liked that show when that started, because Adam was like me. Adam was like all of us default liberals who didn't know anything about anything, but then is starting to become more politically aware because life, culture dictates that it be so. And he was slowly getting red-pilled. But like it was like this sane guy, this average guy talking to another average guy, Tim Pool, and them having very differing views.
That's the appeal, right? Yeah. It's like when you watch when you watch, let's say, Fox or CNN, it's hard to believe that those are real people reporting the news.
Yeah.
They're just actors who have lots of really nice face paint on their face to make them look really good, and they're reading off of a prompter, and it's just like, this is so fake, and the stories are so one-sided. And then you listen to people like Tim, and you're like, all of a sudden, like, oh, it's like so real, like they're really speaking off the cuff, and they're telling it how it is. And here's this guy Adam who's just like us, he's just some random guy. And that's the appeal with these people. They appear to be just regular people, more regular than, let's say, the Brian Steltzers or the whoever's on the TV.
Mm-hmm. And it was nice to be able to just listen to regular people talk, even if they had different views. It gave me hope that maybe my friends aren't crazy. Maybe I can talk to them like this one day. The reason why I gravitated towards them was because they say things like mainstream media is bullshit, implying that they are not, that they're more authentic. They're just some guy doing independent journalism.
I'm just like you, dude.
Yeah. There's always this implication. Everyone who's into what do you call it? Alternative media? Yeah. Or just like independent journalism. Basically, when you've been so annoyed with mainstream pundits like on Fox News, like on CNN, and you're like, you lie to me, and you don't even do your job, that you have to like run towards internet news people, like people who don't technically have any kind of the traditional method of credibility behind them. Like they'll go on the ground and report, basically live stream what they're saying on the ground, so that like if people on CNN, if people on Fox News are lying, you can see it because they're literally there. They're just live streaming. They're not doctoring anything. They're not taking things out of context. Stuff that like a lot of people were getting fed up with at that time, or at least like awoken to the did you know Trump coined the term fake news? Like I don't think I've ever heard that phrase before 2016.
Yeah, and you see him like, oh, what CNN saying is fake news, and what Tim's saying is
real
not
news.
fake news. Yeah.
At least like when you're susceptible like that, when you're like just desperately trying to find answers to like what the heck is going on, that's you gravitate towards these people because that's the assumption. They go like, oh, this is fake news, and when they're right too, that when they're very accurate at calling it out, you go like, oh, if you're being honest with me, they are not. And then you develop this like, oh, then someone like Tim Pool is a lot more credible actually than mainstream media, and you start listening to them and people like them. For a lot of the times I did get news before news told it to me, because I was watching like I said with like the pandemic and stuff. Fast forward to today, I am now like, everyone's full of shit. I am now like, everyone is a grifter. Everyone's lying to me. I don't trust nobody.
Everyone's trying to fuck us, man.
Yeah. I feel bad for having previously recommended some of these people on our podcast of like, oh, maybe if you guys like listening to us, listen to them, and like people like Tim Pool, and I go like, oh, ew, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I led you astray. And I want to talk about what led me to this point of thinking, okay, not only is mainstream media bullshit, so are these internet pundits, who claim to be not bullshit, to claim to be, like you said, honest, good
I'm just like you, man.
people that are just like you. So we're going to use Tim Pool as an example, partly because there has been a lot of drama and fake news, entertainment news. There you go. Entertainment news surrounding him, Ye, Adam, like I mentioned, and just...
let's just do it in order. Let's just take people from the beginning, right? So let's take people through the Adam video,
Okay.
Tim's response to the Adam video, what happened with Ye, Tim's response to Ye, and just the bad behavior after that.
Yeah, okay.
All right? So let's
Okay.
make it super simple for everybody.
So, like I said, Tim had this show called Timcast IRL with Adam. It still exists, it's just a different kind of show now. Adam basically got kicked off the show, fired. At the time, this was like a few years ago. I don't remember, maybe 2 years ago. They never explained why. It was very sudden. So, like, everyone really loved Adam. I really loved Adam.
It was pretty cool.
It was
pretty swell
a
guy.
neat show.
It had good chemistry,
Yes.
is what I thought. It's very hard to have good chemistry with anybody on the internet.
Yes. That's why so many podcasts fail, actually,
Yeah.
because people just don't have chemistry with each other.
It's not that easy to just be like, oh, let's just talk bullshit on the microphone.
Yeah, it's really not. We tried so many times before our first episode, and we're partners. We've known each other for so long, and it's hard for us. It was a very quick up and coming show, and then suddenly, out of the blue, Adam was fired. It's assumed that these two were really good friends, so they're like everyone was like, whoa, what's going on? But Tim basically changed the show into more of like a guest show. So recently he had Ye on, and he every day he has a different political guest. Recently Adam came out with a expose video where he basically explains why he got fired / left the show. There are a few accusations to explain. The main accusation is that Adam doesn't like Lydia, the producer of the show, because he accuses her and Tim of sleeping together, something that no one seems to want to address by name. Like, both Lydia and Tim had a response to the accusations, but both of them would not say, I did the words, I did, the accusation is I slept with my boss / employee. They won't say that, and they won't say, and that's ridiculous, I didn't. They for whatever reason can't say that. Another accusation is that for some reason, Tim's accountant thought that Tim was paying Adam too much, and so Tim needed to handle it. So Adam's saying Tim didn't really want to pay him as much as he was getting paid, being kind of like the co-creator of the show, of the podcast show. He was getting paid basically like a co-creator, but then Tim wanted to pay him more like an employee, because he thought once the show was getting too big, he was getting too much. It all kind of boils down to, there's like tension in the house. They lived in a house together during the pandemic. There's a lot of tension, but it boiled down to the day before, I think, they got fired. Adam got fired. Adam blows up at Lydia. They already don't really like each other. He claims that they were having this conversation on the show about pro-life, pro-choice, abortion, that kind of thing. And Tim said something like he's pro-choice. Lydia shoots Adam a dirty look. So Adam has to admit on this expose that like he had an abortion with a previous partner before. And it seems to eat him up inside because he is slowly getting red-pilled during this time, and he's really regretful, especially now that he wants to become a father and wants to start trying and that kind of stuff. So in order to, explain why he blew up, he has to explain all his backstory of like, he doesn't like Lydia. He thinks she is a hoe, basically, who pretends not to be, by the way, online.
Pretends so hard to be.
And but also she's pro-life, and it seemed like she was really kind of giving him shit over this touchy thing that he already was like trying to deal with. So he blows up at her, and to Tim and Lydia, it seems like he gave Tim an ultimatum of it's either her or me. Adam is explaining all this stuff in this like really juicy personal drama live stream. It lasts for like 6 hours, and he's just kind of going into it. The way I perceived it was, yes, it's airing out a lot of dirty laundry, but technically he can't explain why he got fired from the show that everyone has always been asking him ever since like he left. Yeah. He can't explain why without explaining a lot of this stuff. Like, how is he supposed to explain why he blew up at Lydia if he doesn't explain why he doesn't like her? Why he doesn't like her partly is like, you sleep with the boss and you were kind of a dick to me. A lot of this stuff I know can't be proven, which, like, I don't trust anyone on the internet at this point. Just because I like Adam doesn't mean I'm just going to believe everything he said. I don't know. No one actually knows. But my problem with it was, like, it remains to be seen. I do believe Adam. I'm inclined to believe Adam that he is upset. He is a disgruntled employee, if you want to call him that. And the fact that he exists means that Tim messed up somewhere. Because, like, I don't like how people tend to pick and choose when they believe disgruntled employees and when they don't. I truly believe that, like, if disgruntled employees even exist, it kind of means the company or the boss fucked up. Whether you believe Adam's story about all that stuff, it's still like he still has this, like, imagine thinking that your boss slept with your coworker. Of course you'd be upset. And is it not the boss to kind of like help you understand that what you think is true is false, or like to right the wrong, to like make amends with your employee who clearly who thinks you've been inappropriate,
an abusive employer.
Yes. But the fact that the boss didn't really do that, didn't really like make sure to leave on good terms and make sure to address any concerns, instead they just fired the guy and then refused to like say why or whatever, because it feels like it's airing out dirty laundry or whatever. All the while, Adam's explaining how his feelings are very confused for Tim. It's a very confused, like, you're my boss, but you're also my friend. And you're kind of a dick, but sometimes you're nice out of nowhere. And the way he's explaining it is like, Tim's really generous. He gives a lot. He will randomly drop a lot of money and gifts no one asked for. But then suddenly, at the exact same time, be really cold or mean or do a really dickish move like fire him out of nowhere. And when I was listening to Adam talk about this, I didn't have any proof, but I did get that sense of like, Tim tends to use gift giving and giving in general in a really manipulative way. And I've always noticed this, and it always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. For example, Tim, I think for a New Year's, while they were still living in the same house together, gave him a bottle of like $1,000 bourbon or something like that, on stream when Adam had already been fired. Like, they were kind of awkward, honestly. There's an awkward hug involved. And so like Adam's like confused. He's like, and then he's a dick to me, like, and he couldn't like understand. But then as I'm listening to it, I'm like, oh, this is like really manipulative behavior. This is the law of reciprocity. This is anyone who's ever experienced any kind of abusive, manipulative behavior from anyone, it's love bombing. It's like giving or being kind only as a way to manipulate you, to like
Control you.
to control you.
It's
Yeah,
like golden handcuffs, you know.
it's like when someone like in any abusive relationship hurts you and then like love bombs you, as if that makes up for like the abusiveness. And I noticed that like every time Adam was like, well, like, and then this really bad thing happened, it always was preceded by some act of giving. By some, like him dropping loads of money, him being like abnormally nice and like whatever. But then I'm just like, well, that's shady behavior. So Lydia's response, I don't know if she made a video, I think she did, but there's this main like tweet thread that really made me mad at her, because I was already feeling like, if you've been aware of our show, I have already been feeling a little like weird about politics and these political pundits, and I've already like kind of I stopped listening to Tim for a while but like this all kind of like all of this just kind of confirms a lot of hypocrisies and things I've been like suspect of. So Lydia responds, I don't actually care about the whole drama of who slept with who. I don't, like, I am very sex positive. I don't care who sleeps with who, how many partners you decide to have. It's not none of my business. I don't care. It's not really about that. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, this is just like personal drama. Why do you care who people sleep with and whatever? Like, it's not really about that. It's more about like the hypocrisy of saying you are a certain way and then being something completely different. So Lydia, I've always wanted to give Lydia the benefit of the doubt, but it's always been very hard for me. Do you ever have like a gut feeling about people? You just, for whatever reason, don't like someone when you encounter them. There's something about their vibe, the way they act. Whatever it is, it's just you don't like them. I have this feeling for people sometimes, and especially growing up, I thought I was just a dick. So I would like temper my gut feeling and go like, oh, let's be friends. I'm trying my best to give you the benefit of the doubt. I felt that way about Lydia for a really long time. For whatever reason, I don't like her all that much. Partly because she likes to be very high and mighty on Twitter. I have a problem with people who like to be high and mighty in general. But I grew up with a lot of people like that, so I have a lot of patience, I think, for people like that, to prove me wrong. She always acts this way. She's very pro-life, very whatever, and I don't care. She can believe whatever you want. She tries to address this without addressing the elephant in the room that like she slept with her boss, and it seems very inappropriate. And I whatever, I don't care. But like, there's this one thing that really bothered me about her response. Her response were just a bunch of ad homs. It was a bunch of insults. And you can say that like, oh, Adam called Lydia a slut. She called her a bitch. She said he also threw a lot of ad homs at her. But like, he needs to explain he feels this way about her in order to explain why he blew up. So I don't really think Adam's video was malicious. I feel like he was just trying to get stuff off his chest, stuff that like he's been keeping in for a while, and he like, now that it's out, he can be free, he can just like exist, whatever. He attacked his masculinity, which
Lydia, you mean?
Yeah, Lydia attacked Adam's masculinity. Had nothing to do with any of the accusations, but she attacked his masculinity, saying that like, oh, it's so masculine to like have your wife work while the way you work is you sit at home and play video games. And then I go like, what does that have anything to do with anything? It feels like you're gaslighting me and like trying to deflect to anything else. she was like, the only reason why I took the job was because I was paying for my ex-husband's education, making herself out to be this innocent person who is so good. She's so good. She like works really hard just to pay for her asshole ex-husband's education. And then I'm like,
that's a you problem,
yeah,
Lydia.
that's a you. What does that have anything to do with me or what Adam said? That's just strange that you would bring that up. Okay. But then she does this really low thing, in my opinion. She attacks the fact that he had an abortion. She says something like he's clearly dealing with like all these demons and guilt from having an abortion and whatever. And then I was like, aha, right there. That is a really mean thing to do. When like the reason why it took him this long to talk about all this is because he couldn't talk about that particular issue. And he had to be comfortable enough to talk about that in order to like even like share a lot of this stuff. And to attack the one thing that like he cried, like the fact that some people were like, you're forgiven, like don't, like you will forever be a father, like stuff like that would like make him cry because like he's just like it's a important issue for him. For her to use that particular thing and go like, the only reason why he's doing this now is because he's trying to he's dealing with like guilt, and it seems like he just has to like take it out on me or whatever. And I was just like, this point here, the way you're acting, I would have just thought it was a he said she said thing. When he said he blew up at you for a look, you looked at him funny when mentioned the topic of abortion. But you're literally proving what he said is true, that you're a dick when it comes to the pro-life, pro-choice thing, and that like you were really judgmental,
really pious, looking down on him for his decisions in life that he clearly regrets.
Yeah,
and you know that. It's not like she doesn't know that.
Yeah.
It's not like that's the worst. It's just like,
and I was like, I'm not sure you're aware, but you literally just proved him right. Yeah. That you are high and mighty about that. And if it were me, I probably would have blown up at you too. If you were to use my one thing that I'm vulnerable about against me, I would have been like, what's wrong with you? So that's what I am really annoyed about with her. So, but then already points for Adam, being the person who's being honest here. And then Tim does like a live stream response to the whole drama. This is all happening like Thanksgiving weekend, by the way. He does this live stream, and at this point, I haven't really been watching Tim, but I'm like, okay, here we go. It seems like in the comments, everyone is responding to like his response to Adam. So I was like, oh, I guess he responds. I want to know for myself. I want to know if Adam is doing me a favor here and showing me that Tim isn't who he says he is. So I watch, and it's like literally the first 2 hours is Tim showing off. He goes from the very beginning of his career and talks about all the great things he's ever done, all the great things he's ever done for people, and what a great fucking guy he is. And I'm sitting there like, why are you doing this? Why are you just talking all these great things about gassing yourself up? When, like, everyone in the comments is talking about the whole Adam thing, like, at what point do you get to that point? But why do you have to preface that point with, like, hours of what a great guy you are? And I'm like, okay, fast forward, what's happening? Okay, I know, what is happening? When he finally gets to it, he also doesn't address any of the situation other than, like, I think the one thing he addresses is like Adam claimed that Tim's brother tried to sue him and also stole his one-of-a-kind jacket.
Custom made from Alaska.
Yes, for like Abercrombie or something. When he was a model. And Tim says that's not true. my brother didn't sue me. And then I was like, I clearly remember when that happened, Tim made a video about how his brother's suing him. And I remember recording, like, it was kind of like internet news for like a hot second. And I was like, why are you lying? Like, you're straight up lying to me. He basically did the thing people who use gift giving as a manipulation tactic. He was like, I'm nice. I do all these things. See, I even gave him that $1,000 bottle of alcohol that one time on stream.
He should be grateful.
He should be grateful. And then I feel like, just because you are like randomly, confusingly kind sometimes doesn't mean that you can't also be a dick. That's what like a lot of people would say when the whole Disney thing came out. That like, you should be grateful. Like they're I know them personally. They're really nice people. I'm sure, but like that doesn't mean they can't also be a dick sometimes. Like why is it so hard for people to understand that like most Hollywood people are wearing masks? And if this is why I am really, really suspicious of people who like to give gifts. That's like one of my biggest red flags for people. If I never ask anything of you, don't give me anything. I won't appreciate it. And in fact, I will think you're trying to use me. You're trying to like force a gift into my hand so that one day you can be like, remember that one time I gave you that thing? Now you owe me. Like I don't like owing anyone anything. I don't like accepting anything from anybody because I don't believe in free lunch ever. And so like Tim started doing that. He was like, well, I'm such a nice guy. I did all these things very publicly, by the way, that everyone can see. And therefore, like, why would he do this? Why would he bring my girlfriend and my family into it? And I'm like, but you're still not addressing anything. In fact, this feels like gaslighting. This feels like you are everything Adam is saying you are. By saying that, like, I've done all these nice things for Adam, I don't know why he would do this to me, that puts Adam's credibility in question too. It's a way to discredit him without addressing your own issues, your own accusations. So like basically Tim and Lydia did the exact same thing. Lydia just kind of waited to see what Tim did and then said and did the exact same thing. And I just felt like there's something really wrong here, but this is not the first time I've noticed Tim's weird giving manipulation thing, but it triggered a huge red flag for me that I was like, I just can't. Like, you're starting to show that you are not who you say you are. Which is a really big deal when you are an influencer, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, you're not a musician. You're not a celebrity. You don't get to have your little like private life behind the thing. If you're like an influencer, you assumingly what we are supposed to take what you do for face value. You are who you say you are. We at least assume.
Yes.
You know?
And if we can't believe you are who you say you are, then why should I believe anything else you say? Which is particularly problematic when you report news. I saw a lot of people, for example, like the Quartering report on this, and like, in support of Tim being like, that's none of my business. Why should I care who sleeps with who? I'm like, well, it's kind of like the whole Jack Murphy thing. Jack Murphy, if you're not aware, he used to be like a alpha male, like, I know how to be a good, faithful dad. I'm someone who left.
I am a model father.
Yeah.
I read Jordan Peterson and Camille Paglia, and I know how to take young minds who are disenfranchised and turn them into productive males.
Yes. Turns out
he has an OnlyFans where he likes to stick dildos up his butt, which is like Totally, dude. If you're into that,
Whatever.
that's fine.
I don't care.
That's fine. Don't just don't lie to people and create what is it? He has a subscription service for your alpha male service. Then meanwhile, you're completely doing what people would say is not male, not very masculine.
Yes. Someone who literally likes getting cucked. Is trying to sell you like an expensive subscription service thing to like how to be an alpha male. Like it's just, you're lying. You are not who you say you are, and it's just, how is anyone supposed to trust you anymore? And it feels that way. Like when you claim to be someone who is not lying, when you claim to be a fairly wholesome person who like has principles to stand on, it's hard for me to, at the very least, get behind you being kind of a dick employer, you being kind of a bad boss who yells at people and can't resolve issues very well and,
in a professional manner.
Yes, like I said, the one thing that you can prove is that Adam is a disgruntled employee. He is upset, and you didn't do a good job. Not being a dick. And it's not that I even care if Tim is a dick or not. It's that you're lying to me about being a good guy by, again, showing how often he gives and how often he's like, oh, I have these principles. I am an upstanding human being. Meanwhile, it's like, I'm not sure you do have those principles anymore. I'm not like, it really, Adam makes the point of like, it seems like money, or at least the power that comes with money, got in the way. At the very least, because it is pretty weird that like you have one conversation with like an accountant, and then you go like, Adam, I know we agreed to like a certain profit share, but like, no, you don't deserve that. Or apparently he had to like call Joe Rogan to ask him should he fire Adam or not.
Dude, Joe Rogan will tell you whatever you want to hear. Man, he's a people pleaser, like me. He's gonna tell, like, what is he gonna say? Well, Tim, I don't think, no. He's gonna be like, huh? What? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. You go do that, Tim. You go do that. Like, what like, you're the boss.
Yeah.
Like, Joe Rogan's not the owner of your company, nor is he some sort of person, like, you should ask for counsel. He's just Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
No, you're just trying to find anybody to give you permission to fire Adam.
Yeah, validation.
Right.
Which I said as I was thinking about this. I was like, if technically what Adam is saying is true, I would have fired both of them in a heartbeat.
That's like an Elon Musk move, man.
Yeah, I'm like, you're both causing me problems. You're annoying me. And how hard is it to be like, I didn't fuck my employee? With the whole Adam exposing thing, Tim's sister kind of got involved, sort of. She was in Adam's chat, basically like venting.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But then she eventually made like a separate video later talking about it. And what
was she venting about? Oh, probably the stuff that she talked about in her video.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she basically said that like she corroborates or is on Adam's side because she feels that he's changed. And
Tim has changed.
Yeah, Tim has changed. I didn't think much of it until much later, until I watched her video, until after Kanye went on Tim's podcast. So literally, I think the next day or the next few days, I don't know, Ye goes on Tim's podcast with Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes for they were making headlines at the time because Trump had invited Ye to a dinner and also invited both Milo and Nick Fuentes, and everyone is making a big deal about it because they're saying, why did Trump have known anti-Semitism at Mar-a-Lago, and why is he so buddy with them? Is Trump an anti-Semite? So Tim was having the three of them on to explain.
Yeah.
But also, if you're not aware, Ye has been making the rounds because of the DEF CON tweets that got him banned for a while, and his, what people would say, anti-Semitic remarks. He was on Lex Friedman's podcast where I guess it didn't look well for him because people are like, why is Kanye like this? So they have Ye on. I'm going to explain how I think it went and why everyone was upset. Tim opens the show with this article about the dinner, and the headline was something along the lines of Trump has anti-Semitists at a dinner, whatever. He asked Ye, Milo, and Nick what was the dinner all about. He wanted to get specifics. But before Ye even wanted...
You just call him Kanye.
Okay.
No one gives a shit anymore.
Before Kanye even wanted to address the meat of the article, he wanted to address the title of the article itself, calling him an anti-Semite. He fundamentally was trying... His point he was about to get at before he left the show abruptly was that he doesn't agree with the label of anti-Semite for him. If you're aware of what Kanye thinks of himself, he thinks he's a Jew, which therefore he thinks he can't be an anti-Semite. But also, his point was, why is it that he can't say that there are a lot of people in many different industries that happen to be Jewish? If that is the label of what... Like, that's not what he's trying to say is that's not the technical definition of an anti-Semite. He's like, why can't we just say stuff like this? There are, for some reason, an abnormal, maybe not just a lot of Jews in entertainment who control the banks, all that stuff. It's a step too far to assume there's some kind of like
cabal.
Yes, to be like, oh yes, the Jews own the stuff. It's like that. No, you can't really say that. But Kanye was just trying to bring up this point. But this is a point that I've seen. Is his name Jon Stewart?
Yeah.
I get him confused with the other talk show hosts. But he was saying, like, we need to be able to have that conversation. Like, why is it that we can't say that? Because that's not really anti-Semitic to say. It's just a fact. To go further, it is. But, like, he was like, we need to be able to heal this hurt that clearly Kanye has by being able to talk about it. So, like, Kanye was just trying to bring up this topic because he disagrees with the fundamental title of the article. He was talking about the article, but Tim, because this is a very touchy topic to talk about. Everyone's worried about getting canceled for even saying some of this stuff.
Tim's worried about his show disappearing.
Yes,
that's what he's worried.
Yes, getting censored off the internet.
Getting a strike.
Yes,
that type of thing.
So he immediately pushes back on what Kanye was saying and was saying, you can't say that. Basically starts virtue signaling really hard about, like, that's anti-Semitic. You can't say that. All that. And Kanye warns him several times on the show that if this interview is going to go the same way as the Lex Friedman interview, then he's going to walk out. And what I saw was there were technically 3 conversations happening at the same time. This is something I think a lot of people aren't aware of when people have conversations. That there's the thing you think you're talking about, the thing the other person thinks they're talking about, and then there's the body language, other, like, sussing each other out conversation happening as well underneath all of that. This is something that I am not even aware I'm doing sometimes, but I have we've been trained to kind of do that, especially when you work in Hollywood. It's like there's never a conversation that doesn't have something else going on. If you are good at reading between the lines of what someone's actually trying to say versus what they are actually saying versus what you are saying to them, and if you're understanding each other. So Tim wants to talk about what he thinks he's talking about is anti-Semitism. He thinks Kanye is going off the rails and being completely an anti-Semite and being really racist and awful. And Kanye is having this completely other conversation about no, I'm saying I just want this point to be out there that I'm not sure I even agree with the label of anti-Semite. How am I supposed to talk about this article if I disagree with fundamentally what the article is about? And that's what Kanye was trying to explain. But clearly, they weren't having the same conversation. They literally were not talking about the same thing. On top of that, Kanye was sussing Tim out. He was trying to figure out, are you real or not? Is this a setup interview? Are you going to actually let me talk, or are you going to virtue signal? And
Are you trying to create a gotcha moment?
Right. Which...
it's very Kathy Newman.
Yeah, this is very common for people were saying oh, he's a big baby for getting such little pushback and then not being able to answer the question or answer the pushback. It's no, he was unwilling to answer the pushback because it sets him up to fail to begin with. It was clear in his mind that if you're not even willing to say certain words, if you're not even willing to meet him halfway with the train of thought that he can't even seem to get out because you keep interrupting him, then this interview fundamentally is not real. You're trying to set me up, and why have this conversation when we're not having a conversation? So that's why Ye brought up this point that I thought was oh, he got you. That looks really bad. Really bad. Ye asked him, before the podcast started, you said I would do great with the black vote. Why is it that you can say that about black people and to group everyone together in a group like that, but for whatever reason you won't let me do it? And Tim's response was really bad. He said, well, you're a celebrity and you're Kanye. Yeah, I think you would do good with everyone, but especially the black vote.
It's whatever you think about Kanye, we could probably just say he's probably an anti-Semitic asshole. Yeah. At least we know. Yeah. At least we know what kind of piece of shit human being Kanye is. Mm-hmm. We do not know what type of piece of shit person Tim is. Yes. And that's the fucking problem here.
Yes. For him to say that, I don't think he realized exactly how kind of racist that actually is.
It's
coming from Kanye.
Yeah. People who know people who love Kanye, that's not just black people.
No.
It's people who like music, people like making beats, people like sampling.
A very certain kind of Gen Z boy. Yeah. And millennial boy. But I
certainly don't think Kanye's fans equal black.
No. In fact, what Kanye said was, a lot of black people don't like me. And I was yeah, if there's one thing you should know about Ye, is a lot of black people don't like him. He hasn't been liked by the black community for I would say a decade. This is his defining characteristic for the longest time, is that black people don't like him. He literally wore a White Lives Matter t-shirt a month ago or a few weeks ago, whatever it was. I was how can you... it not only shows the amount of...
I feel like Sean from Hot Ones would be better at interviewing Kanye.
How little you know about the man, and how kind of disrespectful that how little you know about the man while having him on your podcast and then calling him an anti-Semite. But then to like, that was the moment I was like, oh, so you're a hypocrite. That like, if like I can say I think Kanye is trolling everyone, and if he's not, he's like, that's awful. Everything he has said and done is awful. But at the very least, he got you there. he
showed us what type of person you are, Tim.
And I was kind of shocked. So, Ye he brings us up to be like, you're being fake with me right now. Like, don't mess with me right now. Like, I counted about 4 times. He literally said he would walk off the show twice if this keeps going the Lex Friedman route of like, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're going to try to paint me to be this person when I'm trying to explain, like, I don't think I am that person. But he also, in like more body language kind of ways, said it a lot more times, like at least 2 more times. I counted 4 times. He basically hinted that like he's getting really pissed off right now, that you're being fake with him, because I don't think it was the pushback. Lex pushed back on him a lot, and he stayed there and he tried his best to explain himself. I really believe he got up and left because he was like, you know what? You're not hearing me out. You are either dumb or you're purposefully not hearing me out. So what is the point of this conversation? Bye. So he left. And then immediately after Ye got up and left, about like 30 minutes into the show, Milo and Nick Fuentes got up and left with him. Which I thought the response to Ye leaving was really shocking on Tim's part. I think he responded really poorly. He kind of like was like, oh, you're leaving? Well, Luke and I will sit here and actually have a conversation. And it was so like, you're one of the biggest guests you've ever had is leaving, and you are being really disrespectful about it. And it was weird to see Milo, of all people, and I don't like Milo. I don't like
none of these people in this table are good, by the way.
No, they're awful. They're awful human being. One is supposedly a known fascist neo-Nazi, and Milo is a troll and is like the biggest troll ever. And so I can't believe it was Milo that was like, let me go check on him. So many other people went to check on Ye that wasn't Tim. And I was just, but he proceeded to sit there, which, by the way, I think Milo and Nick was just following the alpha. I really feel like they're like, oh, our path to relevancy again is to like stick by Ye's side. And
like, it's certainly not sticking to Tim's fucking show without Kanye.
So I think that's just all of us. They're just like, oh no.
It's simple. It's just so simple. They were here for that discussion with Kanye. He's gone. They left.
Yes.
It's simple.
Tim proceeds to sit there and kind of go like, this was a setup for me.
No, are you talking about his video after?
No, he literally...
During the podcast?
Yeah. The video, he had a video response at the day after talking about what happened and what he thinks happened. But immediately after Ye left, it's the same video. He just repeats himself the next day. He sits there and he goes, I was set up. This is a conspiracy. He thinks Ye always meant to leave to make him look like a fool, and if it wasn't Ye, then it was Milo. Milo set me up, and it seemed like they didn't want to talk about things. They just want to talk about the whole Jew thing and get me canceled off the internet. It was insane. I was like, not only did you not like go make sure your guest is okay, and you proceeded to kind of insult him immediately after. And then you, instead of taking your obvious L of being made to look like a hypocrite and also handling Kanye pretty poorly, you proceed to go, I am right. There's nothing that I could have done to fix the situation or to do it better. It was a setup because my show is that important.
Is it Tim's responsibility to retrieve Kanye?
No. I would say it's not. But I would also say it depends what kind of interviewer you want to be. So, like, I believe in my heart that if it were Joe Rogan, Rogan would have stopped the show immediately and, like, made sure Kanye was okay. Or just, like...
The show's not that
to
important
figure out what
to
was,
Joe Rogan.
Yes.
He's sure, yeah.
But if you're Kathy Newman trying to set up Jordan Peterson, and I think if someone just or anyone, like for example, like all the interviews Trump got up and left on, when someone feels disrespected or feels like this is a setup, they're gonna up and leave. If you want that gotcha moment, then of course you're just gonna sit there and then proceed to just shit on the guest that should have been there. And not say this was your, where you were lacking as an interviewer. So I'm like, it depends how you want people to see you. And I was just kind of appalled at the way he just immediately flipped on a dime and was like,
well, fuck you then.
Well, fuck you then, yeah. And I could not believe, because I watched it after the fact. I watched this whole thing happen, I think the day after, because like the night I saw the, I think, announcement that Ye was going to be on his show, people were like talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I showed you, and I was like, I don't think I need to watch that.
I remember just shaking my head.
I was like, we know.
I think I know exactly how this is going to go now.
Yeah, and it
kind of did.
Yeah. I was like, is Tim actually gonna let his guests speak for once? Apparently not. But like after the fact, I was seeing a lot of like two different responses to everything that went down. There was the audience response, people on Twitter, people in the comments of his response video being like, you handled that poorly, I wanted to hear Ye talk. Basically, like, really upset. But then there was the Tim and Orbiter's response to what happened.
What is an orbiter?
An orbiter I would define as someone that likes to orbit a streamer to leech influence and followers off of. This is typically used for Twitch streamers, but now I like to call Tim and his orbiters, meaning anyone who's ever been on a show, anyone who like
Will Chamberlain.
Yes.
Will Chamberlain, Dave Smith,
Dave Rubin,
Nerdrotic, The Quartering, Blair White.
Yes.
All these people.
Everyone was coming to his defense, like, you handled it great. The most egregious was Dave Rubin. He said, I've only watched like the 2-minute clip of Ye leaving, but I'm on Tim's side. I believe he handled it well. Yeah, that's about it. And then I was like, you don't know if Tim said the most heinous stuff, but you didn't watch anything. You were just like, yeah, I'm on Tim's side.
Oh, he's on my team. Okay.
Kanye's a baby.
Yeah.
Everyone had the exact same talking points.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Tim, you're great. Kanye is a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, how is there such a huge disparity between the audience reaction and Tim and Friends' reaction? On top of that, Tim's response was very much, I was set up. And it was 30 minutes of Tim gaslighting everyone. That's what
in
it
his
felt
response video.
Yeah.
The following day.
Yes, it was like him trying to convince people that like it was a setup. You don't know what Milo has been doing behind the scenes and all this. I was just kind of like, I don't think people think that deeply about you, Tim. I really don't. I don't think there's a conspiracy to get your show canceled off the internet. I don't think it was that deep. I think Kanye didn't like you. I think he left. And I think the other people don't care about you.
So they left.
But the lack of humility to be like, everyone's out to get me, but also there was nothing I could have done to fix things. Like that, I don't... There's always something you could have done better. And then to deflect any amount of responsibility, I just felt like, whoa, I don't care about the yay thing. I really don't. I don't care about all this other stuff, but you look like an egotistical narcissist right now. When, like, you can't, you call other people conspiracy theorists and you're like, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, what you're suggesting, that like this is all pre-planned, that like they think about you that deeply that they're going to be like, hey, how do I like fucked him over today? That I was just like, that's nuts. That, like, the simpler answer here is that Kanye simply didn't like you. It's just that simple. It could be as simple as like he didn't want pushback. It could have been that. But like, for you to go out to have to not even entertain the possibility you could be wrong, that you could have fucked up. You could have done fucked up and like just ruined your one chance at like this interview with someone a lot more notable than you. To admit that is too much. That you had to like put your ego on full display and to tell your entire audience that like, no, you're wrong. Like, I know like you're upset, but like,
fuck you.
Like I am the victim here. And I was just kind of like, this is very telling of your character. Little did he know that like Ye was about to go on Alex Jones' show, say all sorts of crazy stuff. But one of the more interesting things that I saw Kanye said was like, Tim's a nobody, and like basically saying that like, Alex Jones, you are somebody. People know who you are. No one knows who Tim Pool is. I was like, yeah, exactly. Like, how can you, like, Tim, I think, to
your point about, like, why would he fuck over Tim's show?
Yeah.
He doesn't think much of your show.
He doesn't think much of you. He doesn't know you. Why would he? It just doesn't make sense. So
Kanye saying that kind of makes Tim's 30-minute video about how Kanye's trying to fuck him, it makes Tim kind of look kind of crazy.
Yeah. But also, as an aside, I think Ye was genuinely trying on Tim's show to like do the conversation thing, try to have a conversation, but particularly on what he did after the fact. He like went off on Twitter, posted a controversial logo, and just said all sorts of crazy things. I think Ye is a performance artist. I think he's trolling everyone. I don't really believe he means what he says. And if he does, if he does, then he's legitimately like kind of insane. But I couldn't help but like look at the entire pundit class and go like, you're all falling for what Kanye does best. He's always done this.
Always. He's such an asshole.
And
he'll do
good
this.
at it.
He's so good at this. Getting under your fucking skin.
And I was just
Hilarious.
kind of annoyed. I was like, either you guys are dumb, unless you guys are supremely, supremely dumb and you don't know what's happening right now, or you don't care.
Yeah, when an artist sees performance art, they always go like, oh man, I'm not gonna fall for that shit. Because the basis of performance art is shock and awe.
Yes.
It's to like literally stop you dead in your tracks and to like consume you. And for someone like me who also likes to make art, I go like, man, that's such a cheap form of art. I'm not gonna fall for that. And then I go, man, I doubt other people will fall for it too.
And then I go like, oh no, you mean only artists can see
No, only artists can see it.
performance art for what it is.
Yeah.
It was the one time I was like, oh, you guys are really lame. You people on the right, because I feel like people on the left can see it a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they play into it on purpose, but like people on the left don't typically fall for it the same way. That's why they're the ones always creating the drama. They're always the one creating the news, and the right always has to respond. So when I saw it, I was like, you righties are really. You should go to museums. You should like. You guys really are hopeless as it pertains to culture. If you cannot even see what Balenciaga and what Kanye is doing.
Yeah, I thought what Kanye was doing is a clunky parody performance art version of the Balenciaga babies and all that stuff at the fashion show.
It's trying. They're trying to instigate you at this point. I just felt like, oh, you guys are either using, because what I don't understand is like, yes, maybe Ye might be mentally ill, but I don't think so. Listening to him talk, he seems very sober and coherent, and it's just what right-leaning people like to do is call people like Kanye crazy when it benefits them. And I just go like, no, I think he's got you wrapped around his finger, and you.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of people are going, oh, you think Kanye is a genius? Like, no, that's not even it. It's like the fact that this guy used the most like low-hanging shock value thing and you all fell for that, and it's not genius shit. It's not genius shit, guys. Is what upsets us.
Yes.
That's what upsets us. It's not like he outsmarted you. It's like he used them. Like I told you, it's akin to standing on top of your desk desk at school and saying all sorts of expletives and then wanting attention. It's the same bullshit. You don't like grant that to people. You know, you go like, oh, they're being a dumb fucking asshole, and that's kind of about it.
Yes.
You don't like cry about it on Twitter and go like, oh, this is so demonic and all that stuff, like Cernovich shit, you know?
Right. And it's to me at the exact same time there was like a lot of stuff happening in the news in the world, like the stuff that's coming out of China right now because of their lockdowns is nuts. And I was like, oh, so like everyone wants to talk about this Kanye thing, and yet no one's like talking about something that I'm like, it could be Tiananmen Square 2 part 2 going on right now. Like I'm just amazed at how, oh, so these people don't actually care about news. You'd rather.
They don't want to do the boring reporting or informing you what's actually happening in the world. They want to just use somebody like Kanye because it's not about the news. It's about gaining numbers. It's about gaining influence. It's about anything but informing citizens.
Right. So like at this point, this is like strike 2 within like a few days for me. I was like, okay, so strike 1 was, a lot of your actions are proving Adam right. And then strike 2 is, you're proving to me you are egotistical narcissist.
Getting in the way of your own interview.
Yeah, and like trying to pretend like you're a good guy.
After the fact.
Yes. And I was like, okay, you're on shaky ground now. And then after that, Tim's sister makes a video kind of like explaining a previous video that she made. She made this like TikTok video explaining this crazy thing that happened, but then she goes into like detail, just really talking about it. And her points were that Adam is basically not lying. That here are some personal stories that I have about Tim that makes me upset and wishes that he could become a better person. And she basically outs him as a narcissist and as a egomaniac who has like super tight control over how he is perceived on the internet. So the story goes, she went through some hard times during the pandemic, and Tim basically said that I will help you out if you move here, out of Chicago, if you uproot your entire life for me, and because I do not want to help you out and give you money, knowing that it's going to go to the slave state that is Chicago. And then I was just kind of like, that's a little insane, to when you can, like, who cares if your family is in trouble and you genuinely do care about your family? What does it matter? Just send them money if that's what's gonna fix things, I guess. But she's like, okay, fine. She moves to, I guess, West Virginia, and she witnesses Tim be really mean to his employees, basically corroborating the fact that Adam says Tim has a temper and he yells at his assistants and his employees when they fuck up or whatever, but in a way that's really like uncalled for. Like, if someone yelled at me for fucking up, it depends how hard I fucked up at work. If I like missed completely a deadline when I said I wouldn't, that is grounds for like losing your shit on me, I guess. But if it's like something minor, most of the time, like, I would say yelling at your employee, period, would probably not be good. She accuses him of doing that, but also like being just kind of a dick to her. She made him a gift of like picture frames and wanting to hang it up, and he said something like, I haven't seen you or really interacted with you for 16 years. Why would I want that in my house? And it's all you had to do was accept the gift. It was a very simple gift. All you had to do was go, oh, thank you, that was very thoughtful. Put it up over there, I guess. I don't know. Take it down later if you don't like it. Like, it's just simple. There apparently, he yelled at her. They got into a spat about her daughter, throwing a tantrum. They had a disagreement about like how to handle it, I guess. And then she made a snide. Tim basically was like, this is how mom would have handled it. And then his sister was like, oh yes, because mom did such a great job. And then he was like, well, I became a millionaire, didn't I? And I was like, whoa, gross. Ew.
Oh God.
Ew. I really don't like when people sling around their money and status like that. It's really, really gross. Especially because
I don't ever want to hear Tim talk about how he's part of the rabble, man.
No, yeah. You are not part of the rabble. You haven't been for a very long time. And then my personal, like, I think the reason why that kind of stuff rubs me the wrong way is because it doesn't work on me, because Hollywood people like to do it a lot. There's one time I was at an IKEA, just trying to buy furniture for our little rinky-dink apartment at the time, and then I think someone noticed my badge. Turns out they were like a fairly wealthy person in Hollywood, and you and a lot of other people I've told this story to thinks he was trying to like smash. He was trying to like hit on me or something, but like he like whips out his phone in this conversation where he's like trying to talk to me about like, oh yes, I am looking to hire blah blah blah, and trying to like impress me. He whips out his phone, takes out his bank account app thing, and shows me exactly the amount of money he has in his bank account, and I'm just like, cool. I need to go. Like, I don't care. I don't think when people sling the shit around like that, so obviously in front of my face, trying to impress me like that, I'm just like, I'm so used to this in Hollywood. It's really, really, really gross. And I can't believe that even possibility. Like, at this point, it sounds really likely that Tim actually said that. It sounds like something he would say. And then she does the thing where she also is kind of confused, the same way Adam is. She's like, I'm grateful. I am grateful to have been helped in a bad time. He didn't have to do that, all that stuff. But it doesn't excuse, like, everyone who has this, like, personal interaction with him has this, like, complicated feeling of, like, he was really nice to have done that. But then he was, like, a dick. Am I a dick for thinking he's a dick? For doing that because I accepted the help or I accepted the gift or whatever. And then it's this, like, weird, complicated thing. She said after a while she couldn't take it anymore, so she left, went back to Chicago, made friends with a former employee. Turns out she's...
Former employee of Tim.
Yeah, former employee of Tim. Turns out she might be a stalker who is responsible for, like, swattings and stuff like that. But, like, when Tim finds out, he gets unreasonably mad, calls her on the phone, says... I can't believe you, accuses her of swatting him, his own sister, and then he, like, proceeds to, I think, harass her daughter. Like, he calls her and then, like, apparently, according to her, threatened, like, CPS, like, I'm gonna take your mom away. I was just kind of like, whoa. I don't know if any of this is true. These are a lot of accusations right now. I don't know, but if true, Tim seems to be not the same person that he likes to show online, and there's a trend here for us, for all the people that we've had parasocial falling outs with. They probably don't know we don't like them anymore, but it's just like, oh, you've disappointed me, I don't like you anymore. And it tends to be people who all have this, like, narrative that they have to share about themselves to other people. So for Tim, it's like he's like this milquetoast fence sitter. Everyone knows him as this milquetoast fence sitter. When you have, like, a phrase or something, like this narrative that you really need people to know about you, there's something really shady about that. For Destiny, the streamer, it's the charitable sociopath. He loves being the charitable sociopath. And then for we used to be fans of Kind of Funny, there's Gregarious Greg. Everyone had, like, a title except for Colin. And I was just like, now that, like, there's this pattern here where, like, people who need to tell you who they are instead of show you who they are really sus to me. And it became very, like, potentially who Tim is I have no idea who Tim is. I really don't. I don't know if any of this is true, but I know, like, there was a lot of questionable behavior after this. So, like, at the end of the day, even though, again, it seems like the drama or dirty laundry that's being aired out by his sister seems like dirty laundry, whatever. Even though it seems really mean-spirited or whatever, it doesn't feel that way to me. My gut felt like she was really sad. My gut felt like she was like, I want my brother back. I sense that there's a lot wrong in his personal life, in everyone's personal life. It seems like everyone in this family has issues. How about that? To be fair, everyone seems to have issues. But at the end of the day, she was just like, he seems to have changed. I don't know if you've noticed it, I don't know, whatever, but it seems like he's changed and I want my brother back. Seems like money and power or fame or whatever has changed him. And he's just been kind of mean and been kind of a dick. I would have just left it at that. I would have just thought like, oh, this is just siblings having a squabble. I don't know if any of this is true. But then there are some tweets that Tim, after the fact, tweeted that really, really rubbed me the wrong way. The first one being, he said 99% of news is fake. He said it in a way that was like, haha, if you thought any of this was real. I felt like he was laughing at anyone who thinks that any news, any politics is real. And then I was like, well, that seems to go against everything you've ever said. That like some stuff is real, some stuff isn't. Well, I'm gonna be the honest one here to help you parse out what is and what isn't. To say that includes you, that includes all your orbiters who just jumped at the chance to like suck up to you without knowing anything. And then to like, I just thought it was so weird, like as an entire block. It felt very culty, the way everyone, specifically all his friends, it seemed, were just jumping in defense of him. And then but as also a way to like be relevant, as a way to like put Kanye down and to be part of the conversation. So it's not, I don't believe they're true friends. I'm not sure any of these people have real friends or actually like each other. I think it was an opportunity for them to be relevant, to look good, to shit on Kanye, but also to like get in Tim's good graces. It was a win-win in every angle, and I just thought like, ew. Again, ew. Like, not only am I starting to like really dislike Tim because I don't know who he is anymore. I can't believe anything that I used to believe about him. But I also don't believe anything I used to believe about any of these people. And I go like, wait, if you're willing to say and do whatever it is to get in Tim's good graces or to shit on Kanye or whatever, like, do you believe anything? Do any of these people believe anything that they say? Are any of these people who they say they are? Like you said, 99%, if 99% of this is fake, then you're fake, everyone's fake. And I'm just like, oh, okay. This feels, again, this is like strike 3. This is you proving to me that you are a hypocrite. You're literally saying you're a hypocrite, for one. And then the next thing, to me, is just personally just kind of low. He tweets this thing out on Twitter. He says, this year for Christmas, I'm going to give my family $100,000 check. It seems like a joke if you are not aware of the whole sister video. It seems like this is innocent. Oh, how giving. Strange that you have to like announce it on Twitter for everyone to see. But I guess.
Do you do this every Christmas?
Yeah. And I was like, unless, like, literally, this doesn't offend anyone but your sister. This doesn't, like, this is so insulting to someone who was literally, like, money changed you. It feels like you're spitting on a whore. Like, it feels like you're throwing money at a whore. It's like, is this what you want? And it feels so incredibly insulting and mean and petty that I was like, ew. This could, either way, even if it wasn't that, I could be imagining things. It's still weird. It's still weird to like announce to the world that you're going to like, oh, you're so giving. Again, such a like public display of how great a guy you are. But it wouldn't be insulting except to the one person. And I don't even think that one person was meaning you that much harm. I think she was just being honest. And it's like, here, you want money? Is this enough to buy you? Yeah. And I just like, oh, gross. Ew, really, really, really gross. The fact that I can't tell the difference. I don't know if that is what I think it is. I'm like, I don't know. The past few days, you've said a lot of things, done a lot of things that, again, I don't care about the drama. I don't know. I don't even care if you're a bad guy. Just don't tell me you're a good guy and then, like, you're actually a bad guy. Don't lie to me. Like, it's not, I'm not offended by what you did to other people. I'm offended by what you did to me, to my mind, to like if I truly can't, I don't know if you're egotistical narcissist. I don't know if you're a manipulator. I don't know if you're a good guy. The fact that I don't know, and the fact that there's so much that has happened in a very short amount of time to show that you are not who you say you are, makes me go, I don't care anymore. I just simply, I feel like I wasted, like we said at the beginning, we started listening to these people very early on, and then for like all these years.
Yeah, Tim used to say stuff like, oh yeah, this doesn't really matter. If I could just go to the woods with a shack and fish by the lake, yeah, that'd be all good for me. And for the IRL show, he used to say stuff like, yeah, I just want like normal average Joes and just really good conversations, And then it just became like pundit after pundit after pundit.
Yes.
Like, I don't think there was ever a normal average person on his show.
The only remotely normal person on his show was George.
Yes.
I
was so excited for George to be on that show. But as usual, you just can't talk on Tim's show. You're just not allowed to talk on the Tim show.
Something that Tim said, I think as a response to the whole Kanye interview that blew up, was like, I can't force my guests to talk. And I was like, that's literally your job as an interviewer. But the best example is like when George was on Tim's show. George is a comic artist, pretty small time comic artist at the time, who kind of got big because he made political comics. These really like kind of grotesque political comics. We still want to interview him one of these days. Try to, but then the pandemic happened, all this stuff. But one day, he was on Tim's show for the first time, and it was really painful to watch because most artists are introverts, and we already struggle with speaking, especially on camera. And it doesn't help when Tim interrupts you all the time or discounts what you have to say. He does this a lot. He has to be right all the time. If he disagrees with you, he goes, no, you're wrong. This, and that, and like just like bombards you with words 10 million miles a minute.
Okay,
like,
damn,
whatever.
Geez,
You're right, fine, whatever.
Damn.
And it was hard to see him being talked over. Mm-hmm. It was hard to see some very legitimate points that he was trying to make completely being derailed by Tim, and I just felt like, oh. So any artist that goes on your show is anybody, period, unless they're willing to fight tooth and nail to get a word in, is going to be treated like this. It was the first time, I was pretty early on when Tim started having guests. It was the first time I was like, I don't like the way you treated him. That's a little weird. And there's this guy that replaced Adam when Adam was fired, named Ian. And Ian is basically the Toby from The Office of the show. He's there to kind of be picked on and bullied and yelled at. He's the guy to make everyone look smart.
Right.
And people yell at him a lot, specifically Tim. And I really, really didn't like that. I know you don't like Ian very much.
I think Ian's all right. I just prefer Adam, that's all.
Yeah. Well, like people typically get annoyed at him because he's like the hippy-dippy liberal of the show that everyone likes to make fun of. He says some weird stuff sometimes, but then I'm like, I don't know, you hear him out sometimes and like it's kind of loopy, but he has a point or whatever. But no one, I think I would not be able to handle being yelled at on a daily basis by Tim if that were my literal job, to sit there and get yelled at. And it like Tim has been showing signs of this for a really long time, is what I'm saying. And it's always rubbed me the wrong way about him. But like now there's just more and more like, if anything, Tim did this to himself with his own actions. I don't necessarily believe any of the rumors, any of the drama, any of the whatever, but I'm looking at the things I can see, the things that I can experience, and I'm going, that's not okay. That's not okay. You behaved poorly there, and you did it over and over and over again in a very short amount of time, proving to me that you are kind of not who you say you are. And I guess that's the point here. That, like, Tim is just one guy who I feel this way about. As a result of everything, it's kind of shed light on all of his orbiters, meaning most of the right-leaning people, period. And I already dislike the left because they're the same. I saw this Young Turk thing where they're like shitting on Tim for the whole Kanye thing. There were actually a point in there that I was like, they're right, but I don't like you either because you do the exact same fucking thing. I don't trust you. I don't like any of you. You guys all suck. You got every single one of you. They were saying stuff like, oh, you guys don't care about the kids. You care about it only to a point, but then suddenly when like, oh, this Kanye stuff happens, you don't care. You don't care about the whole groomer thing. It's just some whatever. And I was like, it's sad that I have to agree with you. Because I don't believe the right actually cares about the groomer thing. I don't think they actually care about kids. I don't think they actually care about the whole drag shows. I think it's just their way of dunking on the other side. But then I was just like, but you do the same thing. you on the other side do the exact same thing, but for different issues maybe. Maybe you do it for like race. Maybe you do it for whatever. But I'm like, it's not like you care about me either. None of you care about me. None of you care about any of us. And it became very clear this past week while we were sick and we had no choice but to like entertain ourselves by looking at Twitter and anime. I was just like, you're all lying to me. You're all lying to me. If there's anything you're not lying about, it's probably that 99% tweet of like 99% of politics is fake. I'm like, yeah, I don't think any of you dislike each other as much as you say you do. I don't think any of you have our best interests in mind. I think you're all trying to instigate some kind of civil war because you know it pays you. I don't think you're going to talk about $7 eggs. I don't think you're going to talk about unrest in China. I don't think you are good people, no matter how much you want me to believe it. This is all to just show that, like, these people are hypocrites. And I feel like I wasted my time. After all of this, I felt gross and I felt like I didn't care anymore. And then I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to turn a new leaf in 2023. Technically starting now, but like as a New Year's resolution, I'm going to cut politics out of my life like a tumor. I don't care. I don't want to care about news anymore because what this has taught me, because I was like, I wasted my like years of my life listening to people like this and being lied to and being manipulated by like awful people. And then I just go like, I wasted my life. And I feel bad, like I said, for like ever recommending any of these people to anybody, especially on this show, because I'm just like, I'm sorry. I was wrong about these people. I was better off binging anime and like playing video games in that amount of time. Like that would have been more valuable to my life than listening to any of these idiots talk about anything. And I just felt so like I didn't gain anything. I just feel cheated out of time and energy, and I don't want that anymore. Like I want to binge anime, and like the only news I want to report on from now on is just entertainment news, because that's what's left of my care for news. I want to know about movies, I want to know about video games, I want to know about anime, and I want to keep my finger on culture. But I felt like, is there anything I have gotten that is good that came out of all of this? I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think any of the politics that I've followed in the past decade has helped me whatsoever. I don't think being informed about it has done anything for my life.
Informed.
In fact, I I feel like it has hurt my life more than it has helped my life. Like, if I just didn't know, didn't care, people wouldn't be as angry at me for having some of the opinions that I have. That don't even matter at the end of the day. All I want to do is watch my anime and, like, pontificate about how Disney sucks. Hopefully they won't one day, but currently entertainment sucks, and that's about it. I thought about, truly, who in my life has influenced me in a better way. And I would say Colin Moriarty from Kind of Funny, out of all of this, is probably the only person that I would say actually had any kind of benefit, added any benefit to my life. Because, like, I wouldn't even say he's, like, a political person. He just sometimes talked about politics on Kind of Funny. And it made me realize that, like, oh, not all conservatives are evil, homophobic people. There's this thing called libertarianism. And, like, it allowed me to be more empathetic towards people who had differing views than me. And maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I'm a stupid, I don't know at the time, 18-year-old, and I don't know anything about anything, but I will hear this guy out, and I think he genuinely helped me become a better person. But I don't think Tim Pool did. I don't think any of these people did. I think most of these people probably turned me into a worse person. A more closed-minded person probably, and a more angry person. And I'm just like, I'm done being angry. I'm done caring about this stuff. I'm done being lied to by these people. I don't care. I just want to, like, make my DIY projects, maybe heal from my weird trauma from art, and draw again. And I want to make the most art I've ever made next year. Because I have the space in my life to care about it now that I need something to replace all those hours of political drama and news, you know? As if any of this actually affects any of us. What do you think about all this?
I agree. I feel like I wasted my time, and I wish I had more energy to rant, but I don't know what to say. It's just, I just want to second your thoughts of, I paid attention to this for a long time, and I thought I was doing the adulting thing, and I thought this was a net positive for me. And it's just kind of upsetting that, like, there's like, I feel like I've done a lot because of COVID and because of the lockdowns. I learned how to play all sorts of instruments. I write, I draw, I still work. I do all these things, but I always go like, oh, it's not enough. I wish I could do more. And I look back at all this stuff with Tim and all the hours, all the fucking hours I'd listen to Tim talk about fucking the Civil War or whatever it is. And just thinking about how, like, oh, I could learn how to paint better. I could learn how to use this plugin better. I could learn how to level up my songwriting. I don't know. I could literally do so many more things with my life. And it's just, like I said, like I want to live my life. And I don't want to, like, if I'm mad about something, it better be a good reason that that I accept that I'm mad about, and not because someone said, like, oh, you know, that group said this or this celebrity said that, you should get angry and watch my show. I don't really want that anymore. I don't really care for that anymore. And I just want to, I don't know, I just feel really, I guess, betrayed. I just feel really like I trusted you people. I believed in what you were saying. I thought that you were more genuine than the assholes on the TV. But then it just goes to show you that show business is show business no matter where it is. And to think that any of you report the news, to think that any of you are informing any of us is a fucking joke. You guys are an entertainment channel. Just fucking, like, admit it already. You're not informing anybody of anything. Like, the most solid piece of news I've seen was the Matt Taibbi thing.
Yes.
That was like fucking all the president's men, like, oh, that's news. Yeah. That's that 1% piece of shit Tim Pool is talking about. Yes. That's that 1%. And that's maybe the only thing I'll probably care about, but everything else is just noise and people who want to occupy your fucking life.
Yeah, and
that's what it is.
What I'm noticing is we're not the only ones who feel this way. I guess the reason why we want to talk about it is just like, we're not crazy. You're not crazy if you're feeling this way. That like, I'm sensing this end of the commentating class, at least to like the way it was before, where like these people were making a lot of money and were talked about a lot of time, like talked about more than they should, being just average dudes.
Like Tim will never have a 200,000 viewer show like he did with Alex Jones and Michael Malice in 2020. Impossible. He couldn't even go he only had like 100,000 with the Kanye video.
Yeah. And I think good. Like, I think the more people that feel the way we feel right now, who are ready to like just cut out news from their life and to be like, I wasted my time. These people are all grifters, and I can't anymore. I just want to return to the life I had before news. Oh my god, what was it's hard to even remember what I did with my time. The more society is moving that way, I think the better. It's like I'm feeling the world shift back to normalcy again. In 2016, it felt like the world went upside down. And like people who had no business talking about politics and like knowing it, like saying anything about politics, were suddenly really into it and cutting off family and all that stuff. Now it's like, oh, conservatives suck. And the people on the left suck too. How about we just like watch movies and play video games and watch anime? That's so much more productive. It like brings people together. People's love for Chainsaw Man brings people together. The memes. I just
memes.
I want that to be the case. I want people like Tim and whatever to lose their power, because maybe they can like regain some semblance of humility again.
And humanity.
Yeah. Because it's gross. It's kind of gross.
They're turning into.
Yeah.
They're turning, like, Tim's literally turning into Brian Stelter, like, before our own eyes. It's amazing.
So we are recommending, what better thing to recommend than anime? We're recommending Spy Family. You can watch it on Crunchyroll, and it's wholesome. It's not about anything. It's literally just about a spy family. It's really cute. It warms my soul. You can binge season 1 right now. Go watch it. You're welcome. If you like this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, jingle all our bells and buttons. Check out these other episodes over here, and I'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.